athletes, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to spend some time and take a look at the Garmin 735XT multisport watch. The reason I bought that new watch, it was because my old Garmin 910XT, my beloved watch, finally died. It didn't die on its own. I helped it a little bit. Actually, you don't get the blue screen just like a computer, like just because. Actually, I squished it a little bit and it got that. This is a very strong watch, but this was more than I could take. To be honest, I cried for a few days, but you know how it goes. The moment that something breaks, new doors open, and the chance to buy a better and newer and more up-to-date watch opportunity came up, so the chance to get in a new toy is just too hard to pass. So anyway, I want to share just a few ideas. I had this watch for just several weeks right now. I have tested it like on workouts and as a smartwatch because it's both, and I'm going to share with you why I bought this 735 over maybe a 900 series or from Garmin. I tend to use Garmin, so that's what I bought that one. So the main differences between the 735 and 945 or even the 900 series, and I'm going to use the 945 because it's kind of sort of the higher end from the 900 series compared with the 735. So you have a little idea about the price difference and the main features between one of the other one, and that's what it works for you or not. If you want the higher end and you like to have the latest and greatest, probably the 945 is the watch for you. If not, the 735 is a solid, a strong option. The difference between the 735 and 945 are mainly several things, but the battery life is a big thing. The 945 can last 36 hours on GPS mode, while the 735 can only do 14 hours. And that's a big difference because if you're a person that needs a lot of battery life for a big, either endurance race, a big running race, or even if a cycling race, if you're using that instead of by computer, or in an Ironman, if you are able to run a race under 14 hours and you don't need 36 hours of GPS time. That's the difference. I'm not saying that I can run an Ironman under 14 hours, but the way that I'm looking at it is like I'm using the watch differently. I don't use the watch during the swim. I have a computer on the bike, and on the run portion, that's when I pull the watch, turn it on, and I run. So that's what 14 hours is plenty for me. If something goes wrong, I'm sure I'm going to just jump out of the race before getting to 14 hours of running time. If you're like talking about maybe a half Ironman, I'm sure it still is plenty time, especially because a half Ironman has some sort of cutoff times, and I think you can go over like 8 or 9 hours. So that's plenty time for a half Ironman. Regarding like a smartwatch time or overall time for battery life for the watch, the 735 it can last 11 days. And the 945 can last 14 days. I have not tested 945, but my 735, it was around there, 9 or 10 days for the several weeks I've been using, depending how you mix the workouts in there, how much GPS time you use, and then how much notifications or how much your phone is connected to your watch and kind of like pushes that data into your watch and how much battery it uses. So that's kind of what it drives the battery life a little bit. Other options that are important, for example, the 945, it has Wi-Fi. If that's something that is very important for you, that you get home and upload the data like instantly, 945 for you. The 735 does not have Wi-Fi. It has Bluetooth. It's still pretty quick, but no Wi-Fi. Other things that 945 has is definitely a little bit higher end. So it has a glass on the front instead of like a hard plastic that the 735 has. So that it makes it a little more sturdy and less susceptible to scratches with the glass. Other things is like obviously since it has a glass, now it has a better resolution on the screen. It's not like the 735 is bad, but the other one would be closer maybe to like a phone screen quality in some degree, while the 735 probably doesn't have that. They are both color screen, so that's a plus. I mean, at least it's a step up for me, since my old watch did not have a color screen, so that's good. The 940 has a barometer sensor, which it helps to determine like air pressure, and if you are a person that uses that in order for determine like weather patterns and weather changes in base of your exercises and workouts and whatever you're doing out there. That's one key thing that the other one doesn't have. Also, the 945, it helps you to download maps if that's something that you're looking for, which the other one, it doesn't really have that. So those are like kind of the main differences. The battery, I would say it would be probably a main one, the Wi-Fi, and definitely the screen protection. Those are, I think, the three main things that it would make a difference between one of the other one. I honestly didn't find those ones like extremely big things for me. The battery could be honestly one big one, but like I was telling you, I don't really use the watch in that way during my races. So the day that I had to run like a full Ironman, I probably will still use it the same way. So 14 hours of GPS time for the run portion, it should be more than plenty. Now, price, that's what it makes the biggest difference here. I got my Garmin 735XT out of Amazon for $232. And even today, this morning, before making this video, it was for $227. And I found somebody over there that had $202. So it depends which vendor you want to go and which vendor will have Prime and stuff like that. So that when it changes the price. But either way, any of those ones are cheaper than Garmin's website, which is listing the 735 at $339, and I think it's $339 and change, so $340. And the multisport section is not the most expensive, it's not the cheapest, it's probably in between, since the 900 series start around 500, even more than that, and if you do bundles, even higher than that. And there is one watch that it was $800. So for what you get from the watch, from a smartwatch perspective, from a sport watch perspective, for $232, $230, for me, it was more than enough. Since when you talk functionality, the 945 and 735 or even the 900 series are not too off. They all provide very good metrics for swim, bike, and run. They all have very good uploading to Garmin Connect. They all connect, they all have smartwatches functionalities, more than enough, I believe. And so if you're that person that is like switching from an old watch to a new watch, and you're not a pro and you don't have to have the latest and greatest, the 735 is the cheapest option, and it actually you get a lot of worth your money for that package. So I'll break it out a little bit now between the smart and the sport watch functionality. And I'll start between the size. For example, I'm around like 6 feet. I know that in the video it's kind of hard to put in perspective how big the watch it is in my hand. But you can see it's not terribly wrong. It fits perfectly fine. That's my Apple Watch on the other hand. The Apple Watch, it is a little bit smaller, and I have a few pictures in there. The first picture is comparing my old watch with the new 735, and you can see the 735 actually, even when it's run, it's a little bit smaller. It's not so bulky, and definitely it's not as thick as the other one. Other difference is how the watch is designed. The band on the 735 is made out of silicone, and it's a little bit thinner and lighter compared with the other one. So overall, the watch is not like popping out of your like wrist so high, and it's not so bulky. So overall, it's smaller. But you can see it while you're doing your exercises perfectly fine. Even in very bright light, the screen is clear, it's color, so you have no issues. Compared with the Apple Watch, for example, the Apple Watch is smaller, it's thinner, but it has its pros and cons, obviously. The watch, when you're running, honestly, when I tested a few times when I was doing the comparison, the Apple Watch is actually a little bit smaller. You know, sometimes you're running, you don't have really the time to just go and spend 5 seconds in there. It's more like a quick thing. And I noticed that this one, it was struggling a little bit. But everybody has his own preferences. For me, it was definitely not the same, especially when I use this one for swim, bike, and run. I find that the Apple Watch struggle a little bit more in the swim, especially when it's waterproof and you can like have an option for water protection, since all devices that it had touch screens and the magnetic functionality of that touch screen, it requires sort of a dry surface. The moment you put it on the water, it just gets funky. It doesn't like it, and it kind of doesn't work very, very well. While this one does not have a touch screen, and that's something to point out. I don't think any of the 900s have either, for the same reasons, just that the water, when you're swimming, it kind of acts a little bit and it doesn't like it. But it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have any issues. I did not struggle with moving it around in the water or anything like that. So you'll have those pictures, and hopefully you see the comparison very quickly between the both of them. And that's kind of like the size. When you go on the smart functionality, it's pretty much like any other smartphone. Depending, obviously the iWatch is structured a little better when it connects with your iPhone. If you have an Android, there are like other smartwatches that they are very, very good. Samsungs that they are out there. There are some versions are very, very good, and they connect better than the iDroid. Obviously with the iPhones, this iPhone is designed for the iWatch. So this one for me, since I was not looking for a smartwatch, I just been using it just to test it, and honestly, it pushes everything. Anything that it goes through the phone, the watches, it lets me know. Even if sometimes I don't have anything, like for example, if you're like surfing like YouTube on the TV on my Apple TV, on my case, and I'm trying to search for something and it tells you that the option that you can get a keyboard, and it tells my phone, it tells me the same. It doesn't mean that I can use the watch to get a keyboard, but it's just telling me even that too. So it's more than text and emails. You can get anything that you set up your phone to receive, it'll push it through and let you know. And it's not just the front screen. Actually, you can like get into the notification and drill into it, and it will have sometimes even 1 to 3 pages that you can read and get like a good idea of what the information is about. But more like any other smartwatch, you still have to revert back to your phone to get either the full thing or the full details and the full experience with maybe links and all other stuff. But that part is at least good. You can like set it up to send you the notifications when you're working out or when you're not working out, and if you want them on and off in one of the 2 options. Also, you have a do not disturb, and something that is not quite do not disturb, but I think is related to the same thing, is your sleeping patterns. For example, the do not disturb, when it's like set up for the night, it will set itself up automatically. You just tell them when you want to sleep, and then when you want to sleep, you can tell it like you want the do not disturb on for that, sleeping times. Because if you don't set it up, it doesn't go on automatically. But if you tell her, like, you tell the watch, these are my sleeping times, and I want do not disturb for that, it will go and don't disturb. If not, you have to do it manually. But if you don't set it up with the do not disturb, do not disturb, it doesn't do it automatically. It's a little trick that, honestly, I didn't see at first. But then when I read a little bit, and you had to turn on in order for going automatically on its own. But it has that as too, so that's a good thing as a smartwatch. It also does a lot of tracking of your sleeping pattern. Is that something that is interesting and important for you? The iWatch, it has sort of the same theme, but it's not quite the same. I mean, you had to almost like, it give you option of apps that you can get in order to get those metrics from your sleeping patterns. And then the better metrics, you had to pay for it. So obviously I didn't care for that, and I was interested. Now the Garmin metrics, you can see them all through the Garmin Connect app. So you need the app in order to see those metrics. You don't see them very well on the watch. And the watch, it gives you anything like simple metrics, but what is your total sleep time, when you went to sleep, when you woke up, what is your light sleep considered by the watch, what is your deep sleep, what is when you woke up, when you were awake during those times, right? That sometimes you don't believe that you're awake, but the watch is telling you that. It has a movement tracking as well, so it's actually pretty good. It has a lot of information and it's all free. There is no extra payment, at least for that, and you have that easily available on your Garmin Connect app. So from a smartwatch perspective, it's pretty good. It gives you the time, so I have no issues whatsoever. It tracks a lot of that with the heart monitor sensor that it has on the back. So a lot of the things I was talking about, the sleeping patterns, or even like when you are like during the day, it constantly reminds you to move or to do some sort of an exercise, or to step up, or to get up of your chair, or things like that. The watch, like any other smartwatch, especially a sport watch, it gives you a lot of that information. For example, if you can see, it has a red indicator on the side that it slowly goes up when it starts like indicating you, or like letting you know like, hey, you need to move, and you don't move. So the indicators start going up in the sense of like how much behind you kind of like falling on that movement recommendation. So if you're a person that needs like, or likes visual and things like noises and vibrations, the watch, it does a lot of that. The more you set it up, the more options you got. It can honestly overwhelm you like with the amount of things that it can do. Now, the only thing that I found at times that it could be a little bit annoying, but no big deal, it's like how quickly and how easy it connects and disconnects from my phone via Bluetooth. For example, sometimes it's like right next to me in bed and I put the hand under the pillow, and just that alone, it disconnects the watch. So any times that you separate yourself, and it has a good range, but it depends on your lifestyle. If you're like not all carrying the phone all the time, and your assumptions getting away, it disconnects every time you go through maybe a thicker wall than normal, or you go to your backyard or something like a little too far. It just does the disconnect and connect, and every time it does that, it lets you know. So either vibrates or it make a noise. On my case, I took the noise notifications from everything, so it still does the vibration. You can let it know that you want some alerts maybe without noise, but I noticed that the notifications is like mostly it's like all notifications or no notifications. So it's kind of like a black and white thing. There is no more kind of like granular picked of what kind of notifications you want and all of that. But it's not a big thing. I don't think that would be a problem for anybody. So on the smartwatch, on the sport watch perspective, I found that for me it was more than enough. I've used other Garmin devices, newer ones besides the old one that I have, or my computer for my bicycle. So the navigation is very quickly, very the same, very similar. But what I wanted, it was to improve that satellite connection, right? And I wanted to get like much quicker, since the other one, this one, sometimes it's like, it doesn't do very well. Maybe all devices is the same. I have the same problem with all the computers for the bike, where like I was not able to connect it inside the house, or it took much longer, or I had to put it like on the window. I don't know, I'm sure people have done that in the past, where you had to put on the window, leave it several minutes there while you're changing and all that. This one, it connects from inside the house. It has no issues. And even if I turn it on and I go outside, the moment I turn it on, it takes like literally seconds and it connects. So it's not like my old one, I had to walk like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 blocks, worst of the times, in order to connect the satellite, and that sometimes it was annoying. This one, you just turn it on, boom. One other benefit that it has is like if you have it on your wrist all the time on, and not just like when you're going to work out, it has this nice mode that is almost like a sleeping mode when it connects to the satellites. It's like it knows where the satellites are, and kind of like it has in the memory somewhere, but it's not connected, so it's saving the power, the energy consumption. So the moment you say like, oh, I'm going to go for a workout, and you hit like the button in order to set it up what sport activity you want to do, immediately at that moment it connects to the satellites. And so it's ready to go. If you, for whatever reason, I don't know, you get busy with something else, distracted, somebody starts talking to you and you don't start your workout, I think it takes like a minute or 3 minutes. I actually didn't test it, but it will revert back to your smartwatch option if you don't start the workout. And it does that, so it puts kind of like that satellite option to sleep again, and it doesn't go, an extra consumption of power. So it notifies you the moment it does that, and it gives you 30 seconds to change your mind. It's not like it does it automatically. So it's not annoying at all. But it's a nice thing to do. I mean, it's always looking for power. One thing, like I was telling you, that the power, especially for this one, that is good. I think it has, my old watch probably had a little bit of power, more battery life than this when it's on GPS. But honestly, I think that this one is pretty good for the 14 hours. Is more than, actually it's plenty. And 11 days on like just on a smartwatch power or combination of both, or 10 days, it's more than enough. My iWatch, it does have the cell phone GPS and the cell phone chip in there, and all those things really consuming energy. But sometimes, depending how much you use this watch in a day, the most you had to charge it. So having 10 days is a big difference. But that's the one thing. These watches don't have the cell phone chip, so that's something that if you're looking forward on a sport watch, it's not quite the same. But again, this one is not a sport watch, so I find the functionalities on this one is much better. It has all the same like a regular 900 Garmin, or even the old ones, but a little bit more advanced, the virtual partner, the virtual max. I didn't have that on the other one. The recommendation rest time, the FTP, it has everything. Good thing that still the 735 has is the ANT Plus connection, and I was really looking forward for that, because I have a lot of old devices with ANT Plus that I still want to use and keep, especially heart rate straps for run. I wanted to keep using the same ones on the old ones I was using before, mainly because my heart zone rates are like set up in base of kind of like that version that I have, that I've been using for the longest time. So I want to keep using the same. So one neat thing that I found with this watch is that you can set it up even when it has the sensor in the back. And this is a pretty good sensor. I believe it's better than the iWatch sensor. It has, as you can see, it has 3 lights, and it's at least smaller than the iWatch, and it fits in your wrist much better. So like it doesn't need a bigger surface, so sometimes it doesn't get in the the bones that we have in the wrist, and it reads it much better with those 3 lights. And faster. So I found that this sensor for this one actually is pretty close to my strap heart rate sensor that I use all the time. So when you set up the watch to connect to your strap, your heart rate strap, it will connect to that and use that primary. When moment you took that off, it reverts back to the other one. But you had to program that on the watch because it gives you the option to use both, or primary this one over the other one. And obviously, if you never connected, it will never use it. But the moment you connect it, it will use that connection first. If it runs out of battery and drops it, it will revert the other one. There is also the option in there that if you don't want this one at all, I think you can turn it off. So that's a good thing, like a good option to have. But I found that pretty good because you're not going to have the strap all the time. If you turn it off, I think the turn off is mainly from the sport functionalities, but anything regarding the sleep and all the other normal day life, it will always use the sensor on the back. So I think that's pretty good that it jumps back and forward in base of the needs that you have. And if for whatever reason runs out of battery, heart rate is really important. So that it reverts back to that, it have that option going, is good to know. So functionality wise, I'm not really going to go through all the ones that I was able to find on the sports side. I think that everybody probably needs to do a little bit of research, and if you have other watches that they are similar, other Garmin watches, it has all that. For me, the primary thing was that it has all the running metrics that I need. It connects to the satellite very, very, very quickly. It's extremely light. That was a plus that I was not expecting. Like I was telling you, sometimes we think that a quality watch is something that is kind of like heavy on your wrist, you know, like kind of like a Rolex or something like that, that you're like, oh, I spent money for this watch, you know, I can feel it in my wrist. And that's kind of how I felt with my own one. But to be honest, this is a very light watch. It weighs only 40 grams. It's lighter than the 900 series, and potentially that is because of components and the glass that the 900 or the 945 has, which this one is all plastic, silicone band, and the rest is all plastic. And to be honest, if you never held a 735 or even a 900 series, the first time you grab it, it feels cheap. I mean, they're so light and they're so flimsy compared with the older ones, especially since this is all plastic. It feels so light that it's awesome that it's so light, but it feels also cheap to the feel. I mean, that's how it feels, to be honest. It's like, it feels like you're going to break and all that. But then when you start working out with it, that's when you feel the difference and the benefits. I mean, to be honest, during the run, that was the biggest thing. Because the silicone straps itself a little better and it's less bulky than my old one. It just doesn't really move. It stays in place. And it's not really hard how it's like attached to the wrist. And honestly, with the movement, I never felt that it was there. I mean, it almost felt that it wasn't even there. While the other one, you still feel. And sometimes if I was grabbing like either a water in the same hand between the watch, I know it sounds like probably exaggerating, but I almost felt that the combination both, it was kind of heavy on my left hand. And now I didn't feel the same. So that was an unexpected benefit, or at least surprise feeling that I got out of the watch that is really light. Now, one thing that I had to be honest, out of all the functionalities that the 945 has, for example, the higher end compared with these, it would be primarily, I would say that the battery is good to have, but the glass, I think that I would have loved that this one would have the glass instead of the plastic, because I feel that it would have been better protected and less susceptible to scratches, which this one is like, so far I haven't had issues, but I can feel a little bit the different, even in my own one is glass, and I can feel the different quality. And I have banged this thing many times and it has maybe only just one scratch. So the good thing is less bulky, and hopefully I'm not going to scratch it too many places. I've been using it, like I was telling you, for several weeks for multiple things on my daily life, and I haven't found any issues in the sense of hitting it with things and all that stuff. So I think that's because it has a low profile, and that's a good thing. One last thing, the Garmin 735 does connect to Strava. I'm not a Strava user, but I don't know what other options or what other functionalities Strava has out there. The 735, it connects and it provides live segments option in there. I test that with a friend that he has a Strava very quickly, and it worked fine with that, with his account at least. So to be honest, that's the only thing I wanted to do, just test that it works and all that stuff. So anyway, if you're like a Strava fan or a Strava user, probably you want to do a little bit more research if the 735 has what you need, or maybe other watch will have better functionality than the 735, or maybe even the 945 have a little bit more of that. But either way, it has a Strava, so that's a good plus. Good to know. Anyway, that's so far my experience, and I have a lot of fun with this watch. I think for the price is a huge improvement for the package that it provides, the functionalities. It connects very quickly to satellites, to my phone. It lasts a very long time, at least for me. I love it. If you have any questions or anything in particular that you want to know about the watch, drop your questions in the comments and I'll try to reply with my experiences. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a good one.